Everything began with Goku's return to Earth after the events of his training on Yardrat. A strange portal appeared on the route of his spaceship, dragging him inside before he could figure out how to steer the Saiyan ship away. That caused him to experience a very strange and uncomfortable journey toward Dimensional Tunnel, which he eventually managed to escape. His ship ended up crashing on the shores of a city, and Goku quickly came out to check where he had landed. At first, Goku felt disoriented by what had happened, but he calmed down when he saw that he was still on Earth, or at least that was what he initially believed. However, he soon realized that the environment felt different, and that nearby places looked nothing like anything he knew. Why does everything look so different? While Goku wondered about that, he decided to fly over the cities to see if he could recognize any of them, but all the buildings he came across seemed unusual. On top of that, he couldn't sense the energy of any of his friends, which was definitely not normal. That led him to conclude that he wasn't in his home after all, but rather in a different place. Of course, his arrival did not go unnoticed, as Cecil's team had received information about a man flying through the skies, one they had no prior record of. This raised a lot of questions for all those who knew of the situation, especially since they had recently gone through Omni-Man's betrayal and massacre. So they had no idea if this stranger might be a threat or a potential ally. They clearly couldn't afford to ignore it, so Cecil decided to test Goku by sending one of his strongest heroes to intercept him, none other than the Immortal himself. Because of that, Goku quickly noticed a strange presence heading his way, different from the ordinary people in the cities. That's when the Immortal arrived where Goku was, staring at him intently, making sure he didn't make any suspicious moves. "You don't seem to be from around here, so I'll ask only once. Who are you, and why are you flying around me since?" Goku looked at the Immortal with a confused expression, not understanding why he was being addressed with such hostility. "Betty, relax. I just showed up here out of nowhere and was trying to figure out where I am." "Are you telling me you're not from Earth?" "Well, technically I'm not from Earth, but I think that's not the only..." Before he could finish talking, the Immortal clenched his fist slightly upon hearing Goku's admission, as he had bad memories with beings from other planets, especially after what had happened with Omni-Man. Without warning, the Immortal lunged toward Goku to attack him, not wanting to risk giving another alien being a chance to strike first. Not again. Goku was startled by the sudden attack, but he didn't hesitate to block it with one hand. The impact caused a slight gust of wind, but the Immortal showed no sign of backing off. "Hey, wait! Why are you attacking me out of nowhere?" "I won't make the same mistake again. If you come from somewhere else, you'd better leave now or I'll put it into you right here." The Immortal was shocked by Goku's strength since Goku had so effortlessly stopped his punch, but that only gave him more reason to see Goku as dangerous. The Immortal kept attacking Goku in midair with all his might, determined to land a hit. Goku didn't really understand why he was being attacked, so he merely avoided the blows. Meanwhile, Cecil's team was watching the encounter. Setting aside the fact that the Immortal had recklessly initiated combat, Cecil focused on the fact that Goku appeared to be stronger than even the Immortal. That gave Cecil no peace of mind, so he quickly considered sending reinforcements in case the situation got out of hand. "We don't have a choice. Contact Invincible so we can head there as well." Meanwhile, the mid-air fight continued, with the Immortal still upset by Goku's presence and by the fact that he couldn't rain a single blow despite using all his strength. Eventually, Goku decided to grab the Immortal's arms to stop him and hoped that he could talk things out. The Immortal was stunned by Goku's tremendous strength because once he was pinned, he couldn't move at all. "Look, I don't want to fight you. I'm just lost and looking for answers. Can we talk to sound like civilized people?" Goku let go of the Immortal's arms to show that his intentions were genuine. The Immortal, frustrated by Goku's apparent indifference to his attacks, backed up a few meters in the air, staring at him, trying to see if there was any taint of evil intentions. All we could see in Goku was calmness, even curiosity. "What kind of being are you? You're not like the Viltrumites, but the strait is ridiculous. Where exactly do you come from?" Dilku smiled slightly, crossing his arms. "I'm Dilku, a Saiyan raised on Earth, and believe me when I say I mean no harm. I came here by accident, but it looks like this place is very different from mine." During their brief exchange, Dilku sensed the stronger energy approaching, apparently surpassing the Immortal's power. That energy belonged to none other than Invincible, who had answered Cecil's call right away. Though he was surprised to see someone else who could fly, apparently that was something common in this place. "Tell me, Immortal, how are things going? Is he dangerous?" Well, after attacking him, he doesn't seem to have bad intentions, but he's still someone from another race. Hearing that, Invincible decided to ask Goku a crucial question in order to gauge whether he could be trusted. In that case, answer this. Have you heard of the Viltrumites? Goku looked puzzled by Invincible's question, since the term Viltrumites didn't ring a bell at all. In fact, it sounded somewhat strange to him. Not asleep? No. Is that some kind of local dish or something? Invincible and the Immortal were a bit taken aback by his answer. It was as though Goku wasn't taking the question seriously, yet despite that, it seemed sincere. But before they could say anything else, a pair of drones from Cecil's team arrived on the scene, projecting a holographic image of the leader of the Global Defense Agency. Hold it right there. I'm Cecil Stedman. We've been monitoring everything that's going on, and so far you don't appear to be an immediate threat, but I need clear answers. How did you get here, Goku? And why is your power so outrageous? Goku stretched his head, laughing softly. I'm not really sure. I was on my way back home with my friends when this sort of portal opened from out of nowhere. The next thing I knew, I was here. And about my power, well, I guess I just train a lot. Ever since I can remember, I've dedicated myself to that. Goku spoke humbly, though with a subtle hint of pride. Cecil glanced over at the Immortal and Invincible, who nodded slightly to indicate that though he had met with resistance, Gilko showed no hostile intent and didn't seem to know anything about Viltrum. All right. For now, we'll invite you to our facilities for an evaluation. I don't want any more incidents in the cities. Invincible, Immortal, take care of what's courting him. Sure, that's fine by me. Always ready to cooperate, Goku nodded cheerfully. Sure, I don't mind. Besides, maybe you can help me get back to my world. If everything goes smoothly, we can try. With that final exchange, they all flew toward the facilities so that Goku could settle in and talk directly with Cecil's team. As they flew to the base, the Immortal couldn't help keeping his guard up. Even though Goku seemed harmless, his enormous power reminded the Immortal too much of Omni-Man, which made him uneasy after everything that had happened to the Guardians of the Globe. Goku, on the other hand, tried to break the ice during the flight, feeling curious about the people of this world. He wondered if everyone here possessed powers like that. Honestly, you're really strong. You remind me of someone I know. Do you also train a lot? Still cautious, the Immortal answered. I've lived a long time and faced many threats. Training is part of the job. But you're different. You seem to hold more power than you show. Why didn't you fight seriously? I didn't have a reason to fight you. Plus, I will use my full power unless it's really necessary. But if you ever want a friendly match, I'd love it. The Immortal wasn't sure how to respond to Goku's laid-back attitude. On one hand, it irritated them that someone could be so powerful and relaxed at the same time. Yet there was something genuine and open about him that couldn't be ignored. The same was true for Invincible, except that despite his doubts, he found it encouraging to think that maybe this time they could count on an ally and avoid repeating what happened with his father. Anyway, welcome to the Land of Heroes. Goku grinned at Invincible's welcome, showing his appreciation. Upon arriving at the agency's facilities, Goku was greeted by the scrutinizing gazes of scientists and the rest of the team. Goku felt a bit uncomfortable with everyone staring at him and getting too close, but he ended up allowing them to examine it, hoping that Cecil's team would help him return to his world. Meanwhile, Cecil watched closely from the control room as they ran tests on Goku with various devices, confirming that Goku was indeed more powerful than he let on, though it was still unclear whether that was good or bad. Alright, Goku, if you want our help getting back to your world, we need to know more about you. We recently went through something very serious, and we need to be sure. First of all, exactly how strong are you? What are your abilities? And most importantly, what will you do if we can't send you back? With his usual carefree attitude, Goku answered his questions. Oh, I'm pretty strong. I can manipulate my own energy for all sorts of techniques, and I'm an expert in martial arts. But don't worry, I'm not here to make trouble. And if you can't send me back, then, well, I guess I'll find something fun to do here while I figure out how to return. Cecil's team exchanged glances, some of them confused and others nervous. But Cecil had one thought in mind. If this man was as powerful as he seemed, they might meet him in the future, especially given the threats that were getting worse every day. At that moment, Invincible came by to observe Goku's evaluation, but also to talk with Cecil about what he was thinking. Honestly, it seems odd, but I don't get a bad feeling about him. What do you think, Cecil? I also don't think he's hostile, Mark, but nothing's certain yet. We have to be cautious this time. Yeah, I guess none of us want a repeat of what happened with another being from space, right? Exactly. Even though Goku doesn't act aggressive, there's no denying his strength is extraordinary, and we need to know how to deal with that. For the moment, you're the strongest we have for this job, so I'm leaving it in your hands too. Well, if we can count on his help, that's fine by me. After hearing Invincible's words, Cecil nodded seriously. Though he didn't openly show it, he was already forming a plan to keep close watch on Goku. Not only because of his power, but also because his presence might draw in unknown threats. While Goku's evaluation ended, the results truly surprised Cecil's team. Goku's body demonstrated incredible resilience during the test, not to mention the enormous strength he showed by lifting whatever they gave him without difficulty. Once the testing was done, Goku took the opportunity to walk around the labs full of genuine curiosity, though he noticed the scientists' skeptical glances. While Goku roamed the facilities, Invincible decided to accompany him, partly to ensure Goku wouldn't cause any trouble, but also because he was curious about this strange warrior from another world. At the same time, from what Immortal had said, Goku seemed to be from a different race as well. Unlike the others, Mark felt more at ease striking up a casual conversation. I heard you say you're a Saiyan, right? So, what exactly does that mean? Well, supposedly, Saiyans are a race of warriors from another planet. But to be honest, I'm not like most of them because I grew up on Earth. I learned to protect it instead of destroying things like other Saiyans did in the past. Mark was surprised and intrigued by Goku's explanation. It sounded very similar to the Viltrumites, and Mark also felt a connection in the fact that Goku was raised on Earth despite being from another planet. I see. So your race also used to conquer planets, like the Viltrumites. He sounded a bit down, presumably because he was currently dealing with the fact that he was also half Viltrumite, a race he despised for their cruelty. Goku noticed how Invincible's mood soured, so he wondered why that was. In fact, now that Goku thought about it, the first thing he had heard upon arriving was questions about whether he knew about Viltrumites, as if there was a strong reason everyone was wary of them. I can tell everyone's worried or upset whenever they talk about Viltrumites. Did something happen with that race? Invincible hesitated at first, recalling all the horrors his father had caused, as well as what Omni-Man had revealed about Viltrum, but he sighed and decided to explain clearly. The truth is, we went through something terrible not long ago involving them. Many people died because of a Viltrumite. He said the Empire won this planet and was prepared to do whatever it took to carry out that mission. Invincible grew sadder as he spoke about the events that had happened, but it was necessary for Goku to understand why everyone was so on edge. And the thing is, the Viltrumite who did that was my father. He came here under the false pretense of protecting people. He even started a family, but apparently he only had me so that I would join the Empire and conquer Earth. Invincible's words reminded Goku of how he felt when he learned of his origin through his brother Raditz. Goku also disapproved of the Saiyans' atrocities, and he never identified with that part of his heritage. Moved by sympathy, he patted Mark on the back to console him, letting him know he understood. I know it's not easy dealing with that kind of thing. It's like the actions of our people define us just because we belong to that race. But you can always be the exception and fight for what really matters. My adoptive grandfather taught me there are better ways to use our strength. I faced a lot of opponents, but I always fight with a desire to push myself and protect others, not to hurt them. Mark could see the honesty in Goku's eyes, and he began to feel more comfortable around him. Though he still wasn't entirely letting his guard down, he was starting to think Goku might be someone he could trust, and more importantly, someone who understood him because they were in very similar situations. It really feels good to talk about this with someone who gets it. He seemed like a good guy, despite being so unusual. Delku simply smiled upon hearing Mark's words, happy to see he was feeling better. Thanks! Although to me, everything here is strange. It looks like most people wear those flashy suits. Are they all heroes like you? Not everyone, really. But yeah, most of us here are heroes. Or at least we try to be. I'd love to see what kind of abilities the other heroes have sometime. Of course, only if and when you think it's okay. Mark smiled, somewhat infected by Goku's energy. But before they could continue talking, the Immortal, who had been nearby listening, joined them, keeping his serious gaze fixed on Goku. For now, that won't be possible. Cecil has assigned us to keep an eye on you while you're here. Don't get me wrong, Goku. You might not be like Omni-Man, but I don't easily trust beings from other planets. Goku simply nodded, understanding the Immortal's concern. That's fine. I don't mind you keeping watch. After all you've been through, it's only normal. If I were in your place and a stranger suddenly showed up, I'd probably do the same thing, I guess. Goku's direct and sincere response took the Immortal by surprise. Despite not showing it openly, the Immortal was beginning to feel that maybe this warrior wasn't like other aliens he fought in the past. Meanwhile, Goku and the others were chatting as Cecil continued reviewing the preliminary reports on Goku's physiology, which he still found astonishing. Though his strength, speed, and endurance surpassed even his highest expectations for the planet's top heroes, making him an enigma. Yet what intrigued Cecil most was Goku's attitude. How can someone so powerful act so carefree? Is it all an act, or is he really that straightforward? Later, Cecil decided to put Goku to a more controlled test, proposing a combat simulation to assess his true potential. To that end, he called his strongest heroes, Invincible and the Immortal. Goku was excited by the idea of a practice fight, so he immediately agreed. Without further delay, they all headed to the training area. The battlefield was a large hall fitted with advanced technology built to withstand devastating attacks, perfect for this sort of thing. Goku got ready, stretching casually, while Invincible and the Immortal watched him closely, ready for anything. Meanwhile, Cecil observed everything from the control room with his team, hoping to gain a better understanding of both his abilities. Alright, this is just a test fight. Though I do expect you to fight in earnest, don't go destroying our base. Understood? I promise! I'm eager to see your strength, Goku. I hope you don't mind. When the signal to begin sounded, Invincible and the Immortal flew forward, propelled by their powers. The Immortal led with his raw strength, throwing a direct punch at Goku's face, while Mark tried to flank him from another angle. However, Goku dodged both attacks with surprising ease, moving at a speed that was barely perceptible. This left both heroes stunned. As for them, it was as if he had completely vanished. Wow, you're fast! Bug, you can still improve. With a carefree smile, Goku reappeared behind him with his arms folded. How did he do that? He's incredibly fast. The Immortal didn't let the surprise slow him down. He unleashed a barrage of blows, each stronger than the last. Goku blocked the punches without any trouble, as though testing how strong the Immortal really was. You're strong, Immortal, but you still need to work on your speed. To illustrate his point, Goku sped up and returned the blow to the Immortal, sending him crashing into one of the training room's walls. In an instant, Goku then appeared in front of Invincible, striking him in the torso and knocking him back toward the Immortal. Invincible barely had time to register the pain of the impact. Cecil noticed that Goku was controlling his power very well. Despite the force of those hits, neither Invincible nor the Immortal was bleeding or badly hurt. Both heroes got back up, ready to keep fighting. This is ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it. Definitely hurt. His strength isn't just amazing. He's a master of combat. Don't let that get to you. I know you can push yourself further. Goku's words spurred the heroes on, and they renewed their assault with greater speed. To make it more interesting, Goku traded blows with him at a quick pace, causing their fists to clash with enough force to shake the area, but not dangerously. Both Invincible and the Immortal were growing increasingly overwhelmed by the difference in power between their attacks and Goku's, but they kept up their determination. The ever more frantic fight stunned Cecil and his entire team, who couldn't believe how easily Goku held his own against their strong heroes at such high velocity. And it was obvious Goku wasn't fighting seriously yet, since he didn't seem to be exerting himself in the slightest. After a few more minutes, Cecil finally decided to end the demonstration, allowing everyone to land gently on the ground. Invincible and the Immortal were left speechless. Despite combining their strength, they hadn't managed to land a single hit on Goku. Far from feeling humiliated though, both felt a spark of inspiration, realizing that with Goku's help, they might become even stronger. You two are good, which in practice, you could reach much greater heights. If you want, I can help you train. For the first time, the immortal dropped a bit of his aloofness, at least enough to be open to improvement. Even so, in his mind, Omni-Man remained the true foe. I might take you up on that, but don't think I'll trust you so easily. Invincible, on the other hand, seemed more enthusiastic. He was determined to protect his world after everything his father had done. I definitely want to get stronger, so I'm in. Goku smiled at both of their responses, glad to see that he was slowly earning these heroes' trust. Although there was still much to do, he was excited about what the future held in this strange but fascinating new world. After the heroes' test battle against Goku, Invincible and the Immortal took a moment to catch their breath, while Goku stretched with his usual carefree smile. Despite having been defeated without Goku even making much of an effort, Mark and the Immortal didn't feel frustrated. Instead, they felt inspired by what the future might hold for them. Cecil, who had been watching everything from the control room, turned off his monitor and picked up his intercom. Well done, guys. This has given us valuable information. Goku, your power is truly amazing, and your abilities are very versatile. For now, we need some time to discuss how you fit into all this. You can help us against potential threats. Sure. Hello, I'd like to eat something first, since I haven't eaten anything since I arrived. Mark was a bit surprised by Goku's attitude. He really was pretty laid back, despite everything going on, but in a way, he liked that about him. Yeah, after that I think we could all use a break. And I know a place where we can grab something to eat. Would you like me to take you, Goku? Absolutely! I'm more than eager to eat something. What do you think, Cecil? Can I take him outside so he can eat? Maybe I can show a bit of the city, too. Cecil spent a couple of seconds thinking about Mark's request. He reasoned that Goku wasn't currently a threat, so he could allow it. Very well. Since he's cooperated with everything we've asked so far, you can take him with you. Just make sure he doesn't empty out the entire restaurant's kitchen. A few minutes later, Goku and Invincible left the base and headed into the city streets. Mark guided Goku to a small but cozy place where they sold giant hamburgers. As soon as they arrived, Goku didn't waste any time ordering and began eating, his eyes glowing with excitement. Mark was speechless at how Goku devoured his food in a matter of seconds, worrying about how much it would all cost, while the restaurant employees looked on, stunned. Even so, the atmosphere stayed relaxed. Wow, I never thought you could eat like that. You don't eat this way? No, I can't do it like that. Well, I usually eat a lot. It helps me recharge my energy for fighting. Besides that, if you could tell me more about where you come from, I'm interested in what you mentioned earlier. You mean the Saiyans? Yeah, but I also want to know what life was like there. Honestly, I don't know too much about the Saiyans, but I can tell you that almost all of them were wiped out when the planet they lived on exploded. Invincible was pretty shocked to hear that. He couldn't believe that such a warrior race could have been exterminated. I'm not sure what to think about that. From what you told me, they sound somewhat like the Viltrumites in how they conquer planets, but wiping them all out is still an atrocity. Goku set down his half-eaten hamburger and scratched his head, looking uncertain. Well, yes and no. The Saiyans weren't exactly good people, and most of them lived only to fight and conquer planets. But they were ruled by someone even worse, who forced them to do all that. Invincible frowned as he processed this. The idea of such a powerful race being manipulated and then destroyed was unsettling. How did you survive? Goku took another big bite of his hamburger before answering. Lewis sent me to Earth when I was a baby. Apparently because the Saiyans would send infants to conquer weaker worlds. But I was lucky. My grandpa Gomon found me and raised me as his grandson. Thanks to him, I learned to be a good person, not a conqueror. Invincible nodded, realizing that Goku's upbringing had set him on a different path from what he might have become. That sounds similar to what happened with me. My father also came from another planet, but his original intentions weren't the best. Yeah, I remember what you told me, and it seems like, unlike the Saiyans, the Viltrumites are more organized with their conquests. Invincible sighed, recalling everything that had happened with his father. He didn't want the conversation to get too dark, so he changed the subject. Anyway, The important thing is that we decided to do the right thing, no matter where we come from. Goku grinned broadly and finished the rest of his hamburger in one bite. Exactly. And that's why I always train. You never know what kind of enemy might show up. Speaking of that, I'm surprised at how strong you are. I think you could even beat a Viltrumite without any trouble. Goku folded his arms, mulling over how powerful a Viltrumite might be. That sounds interesting. I've never fought one, but if they're as tough as you say, I wouldn't mind giving it a try. Invincible smiled, feeling more comfortable with Goku. Despite Goku's overwhelming power, his friendly, easygoing personality made him pleasant to be around. But right then, Invincible got a call from Cecil, who had detected some unusual activity at the Mauler twins' lab. They had recently escaped from prison under mysterious circumstances. I don't know what the twins are up to this time, but there's a very high energy reading in that area, so I'm requesting your help with this mission. Seriously? Those two escaped again? Alright, I'll head right over. Bring Goku with you while you're at it. This will be a good chance to see how he handles this kind of situation and assess his performance. Got it? After that brief exchange, Invincible ended the call and turned to Goku as he stood up. Well, I guess you heard him. We gotta go. Goku had already finished eating and smiled excitedly. Great! It's just what I need to burn off my meal. Both of them shot out of the restaurant, leaving the staff slack-jawed at how fast they vanished. While flying through the city, Invincible felt more secure having Goku at his side. He knew this battle would be different with him as an ally. They streaked through the sky toward the Mauler's lab. As they flew, Mark glanced sideways at Goku, a bit surprised by his enthusiasm. I'm not sure what to expect from the Maulers this time, but if Cecil detected a high-energy reading, they're definitely cooking up something big. That sounds fun. I like it when the enemies are strong. It makes things more interesting. I don't know if fun is the word I'd use, but at least we'll be ready for anything. What neither Goku nor Invincible knew was that the Mauler twins weren't acting alone. They were working with Angstrom, specifically his normal pacifist version from before he turned evil. He was the one who'd freed them from prison, but only so they could build a machine for all his variants and absorb their knowledge to improve life conditions in every reality. When they arrived, Goku and Invincible landed with caution. From the outside, the Mauler's lab looked more heavily fortified than before, causing Mark to frown. I wonder why this place is so reinforced. Don't worry, I'm sure we'll handle this in no time. After saying that, Goku quickly sensed the energy of the people inside the lab, surprised by how many there actually were. But what was most bizarre was that although several presences were inside, most felt exactly the same, like clones. There's definitely something weird going on in there. We'd better figure out what it is. Invincible nodded, and both decided to force their way in before anything else could happen. In a flash, they broke through the walls to enter and locate the Mauler twins. Because of the tremors caused by the collapsing walls, the twins immediately realized someone had busted in. Damn, it looks like they know where we are. No time to lose. Luckily, the machine's already ready. Good, then we have to use it right now. With that, the main Angstrom stepped up to a huge machine and connected his head to a helmet. He wasn't the only one went to it though. There were many Angstrom variants attached as well, all normal versions, but the main one was the one who could open portals to different universes. As mentioned before, the goal was to absorb all of his variants' knowledge in order to find the solutions to the world's problems, and bring peace with that information. The only catch was that it needed time to load everything in a stable way. Otherwise, it could be dangerous. But while the machine was still loading, Goku and Invincible made their way through the facility until they finally reached the Mauler twins and their equipment. Goku focused on them, noticing that both twins had exactly the same energy signature, as if they were the same person, confirming to him that they were clones. Meanwhile, the twins were surprised to see Invincible accompanied by someone they didn't recognize. Great. As if there wasn't enough before, now there's another hero. Do you really have to ruin everything? We're in the middle of a revolutionary breakthrough, something that will change all realities. He said this while keeping quiet about the true arrangement with Angstrom. Invincible folded his arms, not believing a word of it. Right, because the last time you tried a revolutionary breakthrough, you nearly destroyed the city. What are you up to now? The other Mauler, irritated, pointed at Angstrom to buy time. We're gathering knowledge from multiple versions of Angstrom in other dimensions. There's nothing illegal about that. Goku just tilted his head as he tried to figure out how the machine worked, without much success. And what's that supposed to do for you? Angstrom opened his eyes and looked at both heroes with a calm expression. The goal is to prove the intelligence of all my variants so we can find solutions to the world's problems. Hunger, poverty, wars. Everything can be resolved with the right knowledge. Invincible raised an eyebrow at their so-called plan, remaining skeptical. And how is this machine supposed to do that without blowing up? One of the Maulers grinned proudly in response, clearly confident in his creation. We've done all the calculations, and it's completely safe. More or less. Whatever the case, you two are criminals and need to go back to prison for everything you've done. So either you go willingly, or we settle this here and now. Go back to that place with awful food? Not a chance. We have to finish this. Right after saying that, it became clear that the Maulers weren't alone. More variants appeared through one of the doors, ready to fight so the machine could finish loading. So you're not giving us a choice. He glanced over at Goku, signaling it was time to act. Goku simply grinned, cracking his knuckles in anticipation. Perfect. This'll be fun. Invincible took the lead, rushing forward with impressive speed and knocking out one of the clones with a solid punch to the face. However, two more quickly intercepted him, trying to pin him down with energy weapons. Goku, for his part, waited patiently for the clones to attack. When one of them fired a plasma beam, Goku just tilted his head to dodge it effortlessly and, in a blink, appeared behind the clone, knocking it out with a punch to the face. When Invincible wrestled with two of the Maulers, who managed to land a few hits, even drawing some blood, he noticed how easily Goku handled his side of the fight. Seeing Goku's skills spurred Invincible to fight harder, and he began to overpower the Maulers he was up against. Meanwhile, Angstrom watched the battle with increasing concern. He hadn't accounted for someone as strong as Goku. If the Saiyan got too involved, Angstrom's experiment could fail before it finished. The Maulers continued to focus their attacks on Goku, only to realize that neither their weapons nor their punches could land. It was faster than any hero they had ever encountered. Frustrated, they had no choice but to keep attacking, hoping to buy enough time for the machine to finish so they could escape to another dimension without superheroes. Yet, Goku was quickly knocking out every variant until hardly any remained standing. In desperation, Mauler 1 tried to hasten the loading process of the machine. We just need a little more time. Hang in there. He was clearly sweating. He'd underestimated the threat level. Meanwhile, Angstrom kept his eyes shut, intently absorbing data from his variants. Though Invincible had taken a few blows, he pressed on, not about to give up. He knew he couldn't match Goku's speed or technique, but he was doing his part. With a powerful punch, he sent one clone flying against a wall, taking it out of the fight. Goku, on the other hand, dodged the energy shots fired by the remaining Maulers as it were second nature. In seconds, he vanished and reappeared among them, dishing out punches and kicks that knocked them out with ease. Some tried using stronger weapons, but Goku destroyed them before they could be fired. How much longer? We can't keep this up. Just a little more. Panicking, Mauler 1 tried to manually tweak the machine's energy input to speed up the process. But due to the tremors from the ongoing fight, one of the knobs broke off, making Angstrom snap his eyes open in alarm. What are you doing? Don't interfere with the process. The machine began to hum loudly, and streaks of blue and red energy shot out from its connections. The monitors that displayed data on all the Angstrom variants started flickering wildly. One screen flashed a critical error, and suddenly the entire lab shook. I really don't like how this looks. Goku frowned, immediately sensing the machine's instability. This isn't good. Invincible also felt the danger and looked toward Angstrom, who was desperately trying to disconnect from the machine. You shouldn't have touched anything. No, it's overloading the system. Don't disconnect from the machine. That'll make it worse. By attempting to disconnect, Armstrong caused the machines to explode outright, making the entire area collapse instantly. Mahler 1 tried to flee with his clone, but an arc of electricity struck them both, knocking them unconscious. Goku didn't have time to help the criminals. He only had time to teleport and pull Invincible out of the plane. Invincible was stunned by Goku's quick reaction. He hadn't even registered the moment Goku grabbed them and got them out. With the explosion still unfolding, Goku quickly used his energy to blast away part of the area so it wouldn't spread further. Moments later, Invincible and Goku were hovering in the air, staring at the smoking ruins of the Mauler's lab. A thick cloud of dust shrouded the rubble, and flames still burned here and there, but no sign of anyone surviving. Mark put a hand to his forehead and sighed, trying to process everything that had happened so quickly. Well, I was a bit more chaotic than I expected. Yeah, but at least we stopped something worse from happening. I doubt that machine is good for anything now. I don't think there's much else we can do here. Might as well as Cecil handle the rest. I guess you're right. He knows this world better than I do, so he'll figure out what's best. With that, Goku and Invincible moved away from the area, seeing no one left and leaving the aftermath to Cecil's team. However, sometime later and without anyone noticing, a figure emerged from the rubble. Another than Angstrom, still alive despite being covered in wounds and dust. Yet, because of what had happened with the machine, his brain had grown noticeably larger, having absorbed a great deal of knowledge from his variants in other worlds. His eyes reflected frustration as he surveyed the wreckage, letting out a low growl of disapproval. All that knowledge, all that information, they don't understand. This wasn't just about me. It was supposed to be the start of real change. It was supposed to be the answer. Armstrong stood up slowly, thinking about what had just happened. He realized the two who had thwarted him were Goku and Invincible. Now that he had gained so much information, he'd seen the worst versions of Invincible in other worlds. But at the moment, he wanted to find out exactly who that spiky-haired man in strange clothes really was. After pondering it a bit, Armstrong steadied himself, stumbling at first, but with a determined expression on his face. The surge of knowledge from the machine had not only expanded his intellect beyond normal human limits, it had shown him infinite realities, many with corrupted or defeated versions of himself. So many possibilities, so many failures, but also solutions. I saw worlds where heroes save no one, where they cause the chaos. And that man, Goku, where does he really come from? His power goes beyond even the laws of our reality. I'll need a new strategy. If I can figure out who he is, maybe I can look for him in some dimension and see if there's a reality that contains variables like Goku. That might help me with my next move once I plan it out. Just then, one of the Maulers began to stir among the debris, barely conscious after the huge explosion. It was the original Mauler, his body terribly injured. He had lost an arm and half his body was severely damaged. Angstrom, you're still alive. Noticing him, Angstrom approached in silence, looking somewhat disappointed. Because of you, this was possible. But also, because of you, it failed. Now I need to continue this some other way. At that moment, they could see authorities arriving, so it wasn't safe to remain there. Angstrom opened a portal to make his escape. Staying would only mean more trouble, and he needed to focus on his next plan. The remaining Mauler decided to follow, unwilling to go back to prison, especially not in his current condition. Meanwhile, Goku and Mark were flying above the city's rooftops, heading back to Cecil's facility to see if there was anything else they needed to handle. I still can't believe how fast you got us out. If we'd waited one more second. I've been through worse, but it was actually pretty fun fighting all those guys. Although I was expecting a bit more. Well, I'm not sure fun is the right word, but whatever. Shortly after, they landed on a rooftop where one of Cecil's surveillance stations was set up. Within minutes, the screen turned on, revealing Cecil's stern face. Good work, you two. The lab is destroyed and the threat contained. At least for now. We're not certain all the Molars were wiped out by the explosion, and Armstrong was definitely doing something strange. We know. We're analyzing the residual energy in the area to see whether everyone there really died. There are a lot of variants. We need to study all of them. Honestly, that machine did more than even the Maulers realized. He then turned his gaze to Goku. And you're showing me that your presence in this world could shift the balance of power, whether for good or for bad. So I need to know for sure. Are you here to stay and help us? Are you against what we do? Goku folded his arms and looked up at the sky for a moment before answering. Well, honestly, I like this world and what you do to help others. Plus, the food here is great. The opponents so far haven't been what I expected, but I can see it's full of challenges. So, if I can help, I will. Although sooner or later, I'll need to go back home. Cecil nodded slowly, never taking his eyes off the saying. Very well. We'll consider that our arrangement for now. Feel welcome on Earth, or rather, our world. Once the brief conversation ended, the transmission cut out, and the two heroes were left in silence for a moment. So what are you gonna do now? I don't know much about this place, but I figure I'll do what I always do. Train and recharge by eating. Wanna join me? Sure, why not? Though I can't promise I'll keep up with you. Don't worry, that's the fun part. Everyone improves in their own way. And that sounds perfect. Great, but I think we should look for another spot where we can train freely. You know this world better than I do. Do you know of any place? After having fulfilled the mission Cecil had given them, Goku and Mark decided to go train in order to test their abilities and also learn more about their fighting styles. After a few minutes soaring through the sky, getting farther and farther away from the city and from any populated area, Mark guided Goku toward a mountainous zone on the outskirts, where nature was still intact. Here we are. There are no cameras and no civilians nearby. We've got all the space we want. Perfect. This is exactly the kind of place where I train at home. I love it. Both of them descended gently, landing on a large rock that overlooked the valley. Goku stretched his arms, throwing a couple of punches in the air to loosen up a bit before the match. All right, Mark. Before we start anything serious, I need to see how you actually move. So don't hold back like you did in our training fight, okay? Invincible was a little surprised that Goku had noticed that detail, because he was right. Mark had held back, thanks to his heroic way of fighting and his habit of not seriously injuring opponents due to his great Voltramite strength. Okay, but how did you know I wasn't using my full power? I could tell from the force of your blows and how you moved. It really amazes me how experienced you are in combat. Very well, there shouldn't be a problem if I fight you seriously. Sure. Besides, if you don't give it your all, how will you improve? I promise I won't hurt you, but show me what you can do. Mark nodded and began to take a deep breath. His suit tightened slightly as he gathered strength and launched himself at Goku with impressive speed. So fast, the air around him trembled from the thrust. When he was close to Goku, he threw a punch he grazed Saiyan's face, but at the last second, Goku tilted his head with ease, dodging without moving from the spot. Good start. It's different from your earlier punches. I'm glad to hear that. Without wasting a moment, Mark increased the intensity and flew in circles, attacking with a series of combos from different angles. Goku dodged naturally, blocking only when necessary, as if he were reading every move before it happened. After a few minutes of trading blows, Mark pulled back a bit while Goku seemed to be just warming up. You have a good foundation. You're fast and strong, but your movements are a bit limited. It only takes someone stronger than you to beat you, but if you make your style more dynamic, you can have the upper hand even against superior opponents. So, what should I do? Relax. I know that after everything that happened with your father, you must be afraid of killing your opponents because of your strength, and that limits you. That's why you need greater control so you're not so limited when attacking. You shouldn't always fight with brute strength. Sometimes hitting carefully and precisely is more useful than hitting with full force. I'm gonna show you. After saying that, Goku bent his knees slightly, one foot planted on the rocky ground while the other lifted just a little, adopting a fluid yet firm stance. Watch me closely, Invincible. It's not just about how much strength you use, but how, when, and where. And in a blink, Goku vanished from Invincible's sight, leaving him confused by the situation. When Invincible instinctively turned his head to look for him, Goku was already at his side, without having made a sound. His fist stopped a few inches from Mark's stomach without hitting him. Can you sense it? With this much force, I could put an enemy out of commission without killing him. This is control. What you lack. Invincible was stunned. He was already aware of Goku's speed after what had happened, but it was still impressive. Incredible. I didn't even see you move. And I'm not even using Kaioken. Kaio, what? I'll explain later. For now, Kabali with all your strength, but combine it with more than just direct punches. With that, Goku shifted into a different fighting stance to prove his point to Invincible. Watch my feet, my shoulders, my breathing. Your body gives off signals, and you have to learn to read them so you can use them to your advantage. Very well, I'll try. This time, Invincible flew toward Goku in a zigzag path, trying to avoid a predictable straight line. Goku tilted his head as he watched Invincible's new strategy, approving of it. Once close, Invincible began throwing a barrage of punches, but this time his movements were looser and more fluid. They weren't perfect, but he was no longer the rigid fighter he'd been. Goku blocked one punch and dodged another, then answered with a series of light blows to Invincible's torso and shoulders. They weren't meant to hurt him, only to make him stagger, lose balance, and break his guard. Goku clearly enjoyed training with Invincible since Mark learned quickly and made an effort. Well done! You don't always have to go for the heavy hit. Sometimes a different approach gives you more advantage than a direct punch. After that comment, Invincible disappeared curves. While close, he spun in midair, grabbed the Saiyan's arm, and hurled him upward. Although Goku had allowed it so Invincible could test his moves, he smiled at the change of strategy, using his own momentum to stop himself in the air shortly after Invincible's throw. That was good! See what you can do when you fight properly and without fear? You're right. This is more complicated than I thought, but it also feels more real. Seeing his progress, Goku adopted a new stance and let his aura rise slightly to show Invincible his energy control. Now comes the best part. I'll attack more often so you get used to the pace of a real fight. Alright, then let's continue. In an instant, Goku launched into the attack. His speed was overwhelming but not lethal. He was simply teaching Invincible with every blow. Each strike forced Mark to move, react, and learn. Invincible began to see patterns in Goku's restrained attacks, starting to anticipate some moves. Goku kept going, encouraging Invincible to uncover his deeper combat instincts. I'm beginning to understand what you said. It's as if my body's starting to understand the language of fighting. Mark began to respond better and faster in combat, exchanging the occasional blow with Goku. He also used the terrain, bouncing off rocks to propel himself. He created gusts of wind with his flight, to confuse Goku's instincts and gain an edge. Goku stood still for a moment, watching carefully how Invincible moved around him. Realizing it wasn't random, Mark was gaining force in the air. And he was right, for soon Invincible charged at him with incredible speed and managed to land a clean hit on the Saiyan's face. The punch didn't move or affect Goku at all, but at least Mark had landed a strategically sound attack, which was exactly what Goku wanted. That was surprising. Great job, Invincible! I'm sweating like crazy, but this is amazing! Thank you for your advice, Goku. While I think we've earned a well-deserved break, don't you? Honestly, yeah, that'd be nice. After their brief chat, they decided to come down from the sky for a breather. Invincible sat on a rock, wiping sweat from his face while looking at Goku with a mix of respect and fatigue. You learned more than I expected. And it's not just because you're strong, it's because you truly want to learn. Thanks, Goku. You didn't just help me fight better. I feel like I'm understanding what it really means to fight, and not just act like a hero. That's the most important thing. If you learn to fight properly, you'll get stronger and will be able to handle enemies, and then you can protect others. Mark nodded, understanding well what Goku meant. In the distance, the sun was beginning to sink behind the mountains, marking the end of their training day. What a great day! It's been a while since I trained with someone new who was so eager to improve. I'm glad I came to this world. Same here. Sometimes with all the chaos and responsibilities, I only focus on getting stronger and forget the part about learning the art of combat. Thanks for that. Goku let himself fall backward onto the grass, half closing his eyes while enjoying the moment. That happens. One grows stronger, sure, but it's also important to learn about oneself along the way. I'd really like you to meet the other heroes I work with. Think you could teach us a lot. Goku turned his face slightly toward Mark, raising an eyebrow with curiosity. Oh yeah? What kind of team is that? It's the new Guardians of the Globe. They're not perfect, nor as powerful as you, but they have good hearts. They've been through a lot lately, so would like you to meet them and maybe help them improve. Goku nodded slowly, grasping the importance of the proposal. If that's the case, I'd love to. I'm curious about what kinds of powers the heroes of this world have. Sounds fun! After answering, Mark stood up, stretching his arms with some effort while shaking the dust off his uniform. So, how about tomorrow? I could talk to Cecil to set something up with us. I don't think he'll complain if you're involved. Sure, I got nothing to do tomorrow anyway. Hearing that, Mark slowly took off, beginning to leave the valley to go home. See you tomorrow, Goku. Thanks again. Rest up, Invincible. You did well today. While Invincible disappeared into the distance, Goku stayed a moment longer, looking at the stars that began to appear in the darkening sky. Invincible's words about the hero group reminded him of his friends on Earth, whom he'd hoped to see again someday. I hope everyone in my world is okay. I promise I'll see you again, friends. After those words, Goku headed back to Cecil's facilities to rest, since that was his home for the moment. Dawn the next day. By dawn, everyone at the facility was working as usual. For his part, Goku had gotten up a little while earlier and began walking the halls with his characteristic palm expression. Some agents watched him in awe as he passed, still unable to grasp the magnitude of his power, but aware that the spiky-haired man was not evil. While walking through the corridors, Goku ended up bumping into Cecil, who had something to tell him. Good morning, Goku. Invincible informed me that you want to meet the rest of the team. Since you've shown genuine help, I think you're entitled to do so you can wait for them in the meeting room at the end of the hall. Perfect! Thanks, Cecil! After that brief exchange, Goku quickly made his way to the meeting room. Once there, he found a fairly spacious room with a window overlooking an underground training area. There were screens showing activity logs of various superhumans, plus a couple of couches. While he waited, Goku took the opportunity to stretch a bit, rolling his neck and shoulders. Until a couple of minutes later, he heard someone approaching. It was Invincible, who had arrived early at the facility to keep his word to Goku. Goku, glad to see you. Did you sleep well? I actually did. Slept like a log. How are you after yesterday's training? My body still aches a bit. I'm fine. Everyone in the base is excited to meet you. They're already waiting. Mark approached the control panel and pressed a couple of buttons, causing the back wall to open with a slight metallic creak, revealing an elevator. They both got in, and soon they began to descend to deeper levels of the complex. The guard ends of the globe have changed a lot since what happened with my father. We lost important people, but we gained new allies. Not everyone's entirely up to speed, but they're good. Most importantly, they want to improve. What do they like? What powers do they have? Well, you'll see for yourself. Some may surprise you. Shortly after saying that, the elevator doors opened, revealing a fortified training room with internal watchtowers, combat simulation devices, and holographic enemies. There, 6 figures were gathered, talking among themselves, but they all turned as soon as they saw Mark enter with Goku at his side. Hi everyone, this is Goku. Well, let's just say he's a fighter from another universe. More importantly, he's someone who could help us improve a lot. I've read the preliminary reports. Your physical capabilities exceed those of any metahuman in our records. Fascinating. So it's true. You're the one who fought the Moors alone and contained the Blossom effortlessly. Is that the guy who flies without tech and dodge bullets like nothing? I guess so. Though it's not that to get you. You're more relaxed than I thought. I must say, it's an honor to work with someone like you. Your feats are impressive. I like your energy. I'm also glad to train with you. You look like you have potential. While Goku chatted a bit with the rest, Robot adjusted his panel to project a 3-dimensional image of the team with statistics, to give Goku a summary of the team's abilities. This caught Goku's attention, and he approached to observe with curiosity. I can see you all have very varied abilities. That's great. No matter how powerful you are individually, if you work as a well-synchronized team, you can achieve incredible things. And how do you plan to train people who are so different? Well, you can be complicated because you're so varied, but there are fundamentals of combat that can serve everyone, so we'll start with the basics. You'd surely know that if your bodies aren't in sync with your reflexes and your mind, there is always a weakness. I'm going to teach you how to feel the rhythm of combat and anticipate attacks. And if you're willing, I can also help you feel your inner energy. Inner energy? Right. Goku can manipulate that energy to do amazing things. fly, fire blast, sense others, even multiply strength. You can train that? Everything is trainable. You only need patience, effort, and lots of practice. And if you can't use energy to fire blast, it'll still greatly strengthen your body and your abilities. Robot nodded with interest, already analyzing Goku's body language patterns. Rex, though skeptical, was visibly intrigued. Meanwhile, Kate and Ray exchanged a glance that showed respect for what Goku wanted to show them. How about we start with a little practice fight? Goku can fight each of us to show us what he's talking about. Sounds Gillick, but don't hold back. I want to see what you're capable of. Very well. Activating maximum containment field through the training room. One by one, the Guardians positioned themselves around Goku while Robot fortified the room's security to minimize damage. All the heroes would participate at once to see firsthand Goku's abilities and power. Immediately, Goku stepped back a few paces and stood in the corner of the training field. His stance was relaxed but ready. He closed his eyes for an instant, but his aura ignited softly, illuminating the room without causing harm, but its power was impossible to ignore. This key, the vital energy everyone has in their bodies, even if not everyone knows how to use it. With practice, you could learn to sense it and use it, even on a small scale, to strengthen your bodies and powers. I can feel it vibrating in the air. It's like live in heat. I've never felt anything like this. Even in combat, it's overwhelming. And this is only the beginning. But before you think about mastering it, first see what someone who controls it fully can do. Without giving them time to process, Goku disappeared in front of them, practically imperceptible. In an instant, he appeared behind Bulletproof, who instinctively turned to defend himself as soon as he sensed his presence. But before he could do anything, Goku had already moved to the other side. He then flashed in front of Rex, then above Robot, and then back to the center, each move in a fleeting burst that none of them could track with their eyes. All were left motionless after such a display of speed, as it completely surpassed their senses. I believe I understand why you want us to attack together rather than individually. You're testing us. Exactly. So attack all at once, without holding back. Learn something simulators can't teach and adapt in real time. This is going to be interesting. I don't know if this is crazy, or if I'm hallucinating. One by one, the Guardians deployed in combat formation. Robot activated a series of support drums flying around him with advanced sensors. Bulletproof took the front, Ray shrank to move through blind spots, Duplicate filled the fields with her copies, and Rex began throwing explosive charges to test coke his reaction speed. In the first instant, Goku endured the explosives and vanished amid the smoke, reappearing between Kate and Rex, striking them both at the same time and sending them against the training zone walls. Then he propelled himself to intercept a frontal attack from Bulletproof with an open palm, absorbing all the force of the blow. That's it! I like that! Tactical coordination at 65%. Drones, containment fire. At that order, the drones fired a net of paralyzing beams toward Goku. Noticing this, Goku gave a small spin in the air, releasing a slight spiral key burst that dispersed the beams and shut down the drones. Incredible! It's like you can see through all my moves. Seeing the situation, Kate's remaining clones decided to act. They rushed in, but Goku stopped the combined assault. Don't overthink. Feel the rhythm. Work as one. Forced by the situation, the Guardians adapted to continue. Kate used her clones as distractions to create openings, while Bulletproof launched faster attacks, not to damage, but to press from various angles. Ray and Robot coordinated many attacks and precision fire. Even Rex, noticing how Goku anticipated every gesture, threw explosives in unpredictable trajectories without harming the others. This strategy seemed right to go through, since they were now more coordinated. Explosions rocked much of the zone, forcing the rest to back off to avoid damage. The Guardians stopped, exhausted yet smiling, for it seemed they had finally collaborated properly. Some were panting, others sat on the floor. Even Robot deactivated his tactical panel due to overheating. But when the smoke cleared, they saw Goku completely unharmed. Not bad for your first training session against me. Are you sure that was training? Or an actual fight? That's the both, but the important thing is you learned something, right? I learned we're way below you, but also that we can improve. A lot. I've never seen anything like it, even just for training. There's still a long way to go, but if you're willing, I'll teach you to sense ki, To know your body is an extension of your mind and use strength not just to fight, but to protect better. Goku's words left a brief but charged silence. It was clear his message sparked a feeling the team hadn't felt in a long time. Then it will be beneficial. We'll adopt a new training plan to carry it out. Perfect! I feel right at home! Thus, Goku remained planning training with Robot, who helped with the details for each hero. Once everything was set, Goku spent the rest of the day training the Guardians, teaching them how to detect opponents during combat. It was difficult because most had trouble manifesting ki, yet Goku kept guiding them forward. Before anyone realized, the day was nearly over. When Mark looked at his watch, he sighed at the time. I'd like to stay, but I promised my mom I'd have dinner with her tonight. Goku, want to come? It wouldn't hurt for you to see my home and maybe grab a bite. Sure. Now that you mentioned it, I'm hungry, so I can't say no. Laughing, Goku and Mark said goodbye to the team for now, promising to return soon to keep training. They took off and crossed the twilight sky toward the Grayson house. After meeting the Guardians of the Globe and fighting them to test their strength, Goku accepted Mark's invitation to go to his house so he could get to know the place better and grab something to eat along the way. During the trip, everything seemed calm, so calm that Goku could simply keep admiring how large the city was. This world is very eye-catching. It must be very hard work to be a hero in a place like this. Yes, in fact, sometimes I forget to take care of my own affairs, including my studies. Sounds complicated, but it's clear you make a great effort to manage all that. Yes, at least I try. Just when they were about to reach the neighborhood where the Grayson family lived, a strange vibration ran through the air, like a tremor in the sky itself. Suddenly, a humanoid figure with an insect-like appearance appeared in front of them, tall, with blue skin, and wearing a worn ceremonial armor. Both stopped in midair, surprised by what they were seeing. Invincible! I finally found you! I've come from very far away to give you a message. I didn't know insects talked in this place. I don't think that's what matters. But tell me, who are you? What's happening? My name is Noel Soft. I'm a representative of the planet Thraxa. Several meteors are approaching our planet and we can't defend ourselves alone. That's why I came looking for your help. Although, I didn't expect someone else to be with you. It sounds interesting to me, but I don't know. What do you think, Invincible? Honestly, it feels strange, but he doesn't seem to be faking, so it must be real. Well, then if you don't mind, I'd like to accompany you on this crazy mission. That's fine with me. At least that way I'll feel a little safer about going to another planet. The Thraxian bowed his head in gratitude, extending a small device to summon his ship, which soon landed near where they were. Everything is ready for us to depart. I will take you there. Without thinking too much, and with that unbreakable will to help that both of them shared, Goku and Mark boarded the Thraxian ship. Before leaving for good, though, Invincible made a quick stop to say goodbye to his current girlfriend, since he would be off-planet for at least a few weeks. It's worth noting that Cecil did not agree with this decision as soon as he detected that Goku and Invincible were leaving the atmosphere in that ship, but Invincible was determined to help the inhabitants of that planet. It would take them some time to arrive, but they finally managed to land on the planet Thraxa, where there were many inhabitants with insect-like appearances. However, they did not find a world in ruins nor a battlefield as they expected. There didn't even seem to be danger in sight, since the sky was clear and no meteors were approaching. A shiver ran through Mark, while Goku felt confused by the situation. What's going on here? I thought we came to stop meteors. I don't see anything. No signs of panic, everything is just quiet. No, are you sure this is an emergency? I know I told you that, but actually the problem is something else. The Sovereign will explain everything, so don't worry. Although the situation felt strange, they both decided to follow the Thraxian to where the Sovereign was so he could tell them why he had summoned them. The place was vast and dark, decorated with bioluminescent crystals and Thraxian guards at every corner. In the center, on a throne of living stone and on a higher level, stood an imposing figure, muscular, thick-bearded, eyes glowing like contained embers. He wore reddish armor with Viltrumite insignias. His mere presence exerted a palpable pressure on the room. The two stopped in front of the Sovereign, especially Invincible, who froze when he realized it was his father. Dad? Long time no see, son. After that exchange, silence filled the room for an instant. No one said anything. You called him Dad? Don't tell me he's the one you told me about on Earth. Yes, he is my father, Nolan Grayson. But you know him better by his other name, Omni-Man. Goku was surprised to hear that, since he hadn't expected to run into the person who had caused so many disasters on Earth. I should have guessed. When we landed, I felt a powerful energy coming from him, but I didn't think your father would be right here. I'm glad to see you again, Mark, though I didn't expect you to come with a companion. He's new on Earth and offered to help me. But tell me the truth, so there are no meteors? No. I'm sorry I deceived you, but it was the only way you'd come. After everything I did on Earth, I knew you wouldn't come if I told you the truth. And what's the truth then? Nolan simply sighed a little before speaking, also casting a brief glance at Goku, studying him as if he were trying to read him completely. I came to this planet after wandering through space. I saved their lives and they welcomed me as a protector, as a king. I helped them rebuild their world. But I'm not here to rule. I'm here because I need help. And why me? Why now, after everything you did? Because something is coming, Mark, and I can't face it alone. Then start now! What is it that you say is coming? Why us? It must be serious if someone as strong as you can't handle them. The Viltrumites will come to this planet. Those words resounded in the room, making silence reign for a moment, because it was serious. The Viltrumite Empire will not accept my abandonment. Leaving the mission on Earth, forming ties with an inferior species, I became a traitor. And what exactly does that mean? It means they will hunt me, they will come for me, and also... Then, as if he had waited for that exact moment, a Thraxian entered the hall carrying something wrapped in a cloth. Nolan took it gently, revealing the face of a baby, small with intense eyes and messy black hair, and his skin was slightly purple. This is your brother, Mark. His mother is from this planet. If the Viltrumites arrive and discover I have a new child, a mixed blood child, they will see him as an abomination. Mark stepped back, shocked, not only because of the existence of a brother, but because his father, who once destroyed half a city without blinking, now held an innocent life with a tenderness that seemed impossible. What do you plan to do with him? Protect him at any cost. But for that, I need allies. The Saiyan, who until then had stayed in the background, stepped forward with a slightly more serious expression than usual. Now I understand why I didn't feel a hostile energy from you. It's because you don't want to fight for conquest, but for something you want to protect. That changes things. And you, what exactly are you? It's a long story, but I'm someone willing to fight in all of this. This is crazy. I don't know how to take all this. You had another child after everything you put my mother through when you left Earth? Mark, Viltrumites are not like other threats. They don't fight for revenge or glory. They fight for supremacy. If they suspect I allied with this planet, if they know that my eldest son and I now share something different, they will come in full force. Not only will you die, everyone will. Nolan lowered his gaze for a few seconds, as if the weight of his mistakes crushed him. I'm not looking for redemption, Mark. I know I can't undo what I did, but I can prevent it from happening again. If the Viltrumites come here and find my son, they will destroy him and this planet's inhabitants without hesitation. Then they will also look for you, because you're no longer useful to them, because you chose Earth and not the Empire. Mark was still processing everything they were saying to him. Anger and confusion battled inside him. He had expected many things from this reunion, but never that his father would appear as a desperate fugitive, carrying a baby and asking for help. All of this was your doing, and now you come to ask me to fix it? I can't change the past, but I can fight for the future. Do it for your brother, and for Earth, if you want to protect her. Goku crossed his arms at this situation, observing the Viltrumite's face with serene yet deep eyes. He had often seen people change, how the darkest found light, if they truly wished to protect something with all their heart. I don't know everything that's happened between you, but what I do know is that your father understands the beings on this planet shouldn't pay for this situation. And that's something I agree with, so I think you should help him, Invincible. Mark tightened his fist a little at his moral conflict. His father had shattered his soul with each blow in that battle in the city, and now held a child as if it were his only hope. Alright, I guess I can't ignore what you're saying. So tell me, Dad, what are you expecting from me, exactly? Train and prepare. I want you to fight by my side when the Viltrumites arrive. You must know they won't come in peace. They will come with every intention of killing. Plus, if they find me with this child, they'll try to eliminate him and they'll come after you too. Do you know how many will come? There will be at least 3 elites, almost as strong as I am. As powerful as you? That will be a problem. Sounds like a good fight. A challenge would suit me. Mark glanced sideways at him, almost indignant of his enthusiasm. How can you think of that as if it were fun? Because when something is serious, I want to be in my best shape to protect others. Makes sense to me. I have built a small defense on this planet and the Thraxians follow me, but they aren't made to fight Viltrumites. They're too fragile. The revolution went another way. I can't risk them, so I need warriors. Before he could continue with more details about the plan, a tremor ran through the planet. An invisible shockwave shook the atmosphere and the clouds parted, as if something huge had pierced the boundary of space. Realizing this, Nolan raised his head immediately. No, they arrived sooner than expected. Goku turned in the same direction, his expression changing completely. He had immediately sensed 3 evil presences. You were right. There were 3, and each with a rather high power. After he said that, 3 figures descended at great speed from the upper atmosphere. When they stopped over the city, their silhouettes became clear. They were Viltrumites. The first was a burly veteran, imposing more strength than the rest of his companions. The second Viltrumite was younger, with short blonde hair and a sharp, arrogant face. The third was a slender woman, but with an aggressive look. Her silver hair was quite peculiar since she used it as a weapon, too. Nolan Grayson, you've committed the sin of tainting your bloodline and abandoning your purpose. The sentence for this is death. Nolan tensed at the words of the other Viltrumites, while the baby in his arms began to cry. Quick, Mark, take the baby now. Take him to his mother, hide under the mountain. There's a shelter there, made with Thraxian technology and reinforced by me. It's the only thing that can withstand it if it gets out of control. Mark didn't respond immediately. His body froze for a moment at the enemies in front of him, but he quickly extended his hands and took the baby to carry him off. And what will you do? I'll do what I didn't before. I'll stop them. As Nolan prepared for combat, he quickly turned his gaze to Goku, since he was the only partner he would count on in this fight. I don't know you, but if you know how to fight, I ask you do it now. Don't worry, I'm ready for anything. While they handled the fighting, Mark went to find his brother's mother, so he could take both of them to the heart of the mountain to keep them safe. The 3 Viltrumites descended slowly while watching Invincible fly away, realizing the truth. Was that your son, Nolan? Looks like he's already grown. And he seems to be accompanied by someone else, but he doesn't look like a Viltrumite. I don't think he's a threat. I never fought Viltrumites before. I wonder if they can keep up with me. Do not interfere. This is an Imperial matter. If your business involves ending innocent lives, then I have no choice but to meddle. Nolan stepped forward next to Goku, both more than ready to confront the Viltrumites. Meanwhile, nearby Thraxians evacuated the area. They were aware of what was about to be unleashed. Suddenly, the tension broke in an instant. The female Viltrumite launched first and with brutal speed tried to punch Goku's face. But the Saiyan intercepted her with his forearm, blocking her easily, which made her frown. At that instant, the young Viltrumite dive-bombed toward Nolan, who thrust himself against him, causing both to disappear in a sonic flash. A deafening explosion shook the sky when Nolan and his opponent crashed into one of the Thraxian palace towers, reducing it to rubble. Goku and the female Viltrumite spun in the air, exchanging flurries of blows at a speed no mortal eyes could follow. Goku dodged a knee aimed at his stomach and countered with a spin that hurled his opponent through several crystalline buildings. When the dust rose, the woman shot back at Goku to resume the fight, with a slight wound on her forehead and eyes blazing with fury. "You're not a mere Earthling. What the hell are you? If you want to see it that badly, I'll show you." Without warning, Goku's aura exploded, surrounding him with a golden glow while his hair stood on end slightly. It was Super Saiyan. The energy wave pushed everything around, making the Viltrumite step back from pure pressure, her eyes wide open. "I'm also from a warrior race, but I was raised on Earth." The Viltrumite hesitated for the first time on feeling that surge of power. She wasn't prepared for something so brutal. Even so, she launched at him with all her fury, but Goku simply vanished from her sight, and in an instant appeared behind her with a knee that drove into her back and sent her to the ground with incredible force, making the terrain explode and creating a massive crater. Meanwhile, Nolan fought fiercely against the young Viltrumite. Every clash between them created waves that shook the surface, razing nearby fields and temples. Despite his age, the youth was agile and brutal, forcing Nolan to use all his power. "Is this all you can do, Nolan?" "Of course not. You're too young to know what we Viltrumites are capable of." After saying that, he gave him a strong punch that smashed the young Viltrumite's mouth. He fell lifeless, bleeding profusely while writhing on the ground. But it still wasn't over, because the senior Viltrumite slowly descended toward him, observing what had happened. Just what I needed. The senior Viltrumite didn't wait and lunged at Nolan, beginning to land blows he could barely block, leaving him at a disadvantage. However, at that moment, Mark arrived at great speed, delivering a direct punch to the senior Viltrumite, sending him dozens of meters away from his father. "That's enough!" "Mark, you came. I couldn't leave you like that. And don't worry, your baby and his mother are safe." "I'm glad to hear it, son. But we must finish this now." "I agree." Both of them charged the senior Viltrumite, combining their attacks with fury and technique. Mark used everything he had learned with Goku on Earth: air spins, forearm blocks, and momentum while flying. Nolan, though exhausted, coordinated with him to strike with all his strength. At that moment, Nolan and Mark finally managed to defeat the senior Viltrumite with one last attack, letting him fall lifeless after receiving a combined blow to the skull. Both were breathing hard, and Mark knelt from the effort. Meanwhile, Goku already had his opponent under control, but he didn't seem to want to finish her. The female Viltrumite, exhausted, bleeding and trembling, launched one last time at him. Goku stopped her with one hand, holding her firmly. This made the Viltrumite kneel from the pain. She couldn't do anything to break free. "I don't want to kill you. I'm not like that. But if you attack innocents again, I'll have no choice." "You're making a mistake. Compassion is not a virtue among our kind." "I know, but strength without mercy is only destruction." At that instant, the female Viltrumite tried to attack Goku with her other arm, but on touching him, her hand bent, making her scream in pain. "Enough! You'll only hurt yourself more. I have no intention of killing you. You can't fight anymore." While Goku had the Viltrumite defeated, Nolan and Mark flew over and landed next to him, breathing heavily but with hard looks. "What are you doing? Finish her right now!" "She's defeated. I don't think she poses a danger." "Don't make that mistake. They don't stop. Viltrumites recover, regroup, and kill again." Goku didn't respond. He just looked at him with a mixture of surprise and resignation. "Then do what you have to do, but that decision is yours." Nolan approached the Viltrumite, looking at her seriously while she was defeated. "Your son has grown weak with you, Nolan, and you are no longer of the Empire." "I know." And then with one quick motion, he snapped the female Viltrumite's neck, ending her life. Mark just remained silent, because he knew that was the price of facing an empire that left no room for second chances. Although Goku didn't approve, he understood the brutal logic of the Viltrumite universe. The battlefield fell silent after that, since there were many conflicts about each one's morality. This is only the beginning of something bigger. The Empire will find out the Viltrumites failed to capture me. More will come. Are you saying a war is coming? Unfortunately, yes. How many will come? I don't know, but if they already sent 3 elite warriors, the next ones won't be diplomats. They'll be executioners, and they will take Earth as what they always saw it. Just another resource to expand the Empire. and they will exterminate everything that stands in their way. If that's the case, I won't let them. I'll fight any Viltrumite who comes. Nolan turned to look at Goku, but with a much softer expression than before, since he had seen Goku's power and it was clear it wasn't only physical strength. I admit your presence changed the balance of this fight, Goku. We wouldn't have managed without you. I'm glad I came. I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't. But if they're approaching, what will we do? How do we prepare for that? Nolan lowered his head for a few seconds and then spoke carefully, because it was hard for him to say it. First, I have to go back to Earth. The son I had with Andressa is half Thraxian. His metabolism makes him grow 10 times faster than a human, so in a few weeks he'll be like a child, in a few months a teenager. I can't leave him alone. I can't repeat the mistakes I made in the past. Goku nodded slowly, understanding the weight of those words. Nolan didn't just want to defend Earth, he wanted to atone for his sins. Do you think you can protect him there? If I return openly, I risk the world seeing me as a threat. But with your help, Mark, maybe I can raise my son and protect Earth at the same time. And more importantly, correct what I did. Dad, I don't expect immediate forgiveness, but if this new child is to have a chance, I have to be someone worthy of guiding him, and also of helping you. And we need to prepare, train, and warn the other heroes of Earth. That sounds like a good plan. But first, I would like to help the people of this planet rebuild what we destroyed in the fight. I want that to be my last act here. All right, Dad. If it's to help them, I'm in. I'm not sure how useful I can be, but count on me too. The days after the clash with the 3 Viltrumites were for reconstruction, since a large part of Thraxian infrastructure had been destroyed during the brutal battle. Mark, Nolan, and Goku worked hard to help the Thraxians by their own decision. They used their strength to rebuild what they could, raising structures, transporting materials, and helping rescue those still trapped under the rubble. And once they finished all that, they were more than ready to return to Earth and prepare for what was coming. The Thraxians had prepared a modest but emotional farewell. The Thraxian Andressa, better known as the mother of Nolan's new son, also said goodbye to them, entrusting Nolan with the life of her little one, since she didn't have much time left due to her short Thraxian lifespan. Thus, Nolan and Mark headed to Earth along with Goku in a ship, knowing it wouldn't be easy for people to accept Nolan, but it was the only way to protect Earth. After the battle against the Viltrumites and the reconstruction of Thraxa, Goku and the others decided to return to Earth to defend it from the next enemies who would appear. The ship was already close to Earth, so close that it was orbiting its atmosphere. Inside, Mark looked out a porthole while the baby slept in Nolan's arms. What are you going to call him? I still don't know. On Thraxa, babies choose their own name when they learn to speak. But maybe you could help me with that when the time comes. Mark looked away without answering since the situation was still hard to accept. Goku, for his part, was sitting on the floor of the ship with his legs crossed and his eyes closed, meditating. He recalled every blow, every look of hatred and arrogance that the Viltrumites had directed at him during their fight. Before we land, I have to say that I don't know how they'll take it down there. I know Nolan was brutal in the past and caused many deaths, but when I saw those other Viltrumites on Thraxa, their contempt for life, their arrogance, it was worse. They didn't even want to conquer. They just wanted to kill them because they considered them inferior. I know I was part of an empire my whole life, but not anymore. I won't recognize any other Viltrumite after everything they've done. And that's the difference. You questioned them and fought them. That's what you have to show on Earth, that you can fight to protect it from the Empire. Even so, Cecil won't accept it so easily, nor will the people who saw my dad destroy the city without mercy, much less the government. The truth is, all of this is very complex for me, but if I've learned anything, it's that fear can make people shut down, but it can also make them listen, if they realize the enemy is bigger than their fear. He spoke while briefly recalling Vegeta's death on planet Namek, since even someone as proud as he eventually recognized how dangerous Frieza was and entrusted the fight to him. During that brief silence, the baby moved slightly, letting out a small sound that broke the tension. Nolan cradled him more carefully, making sure he stayed calm. Yes, you're right. I have to try to show them that. After a brief conversation, the ship began to descend toward Earth, causing Cecil's team to detect them and act at once. In no time, he prepared a dozen drones and weapons to surround the landing zone, while he sat in a monitoring room with his partner Donald, ready to see who was aboard that ship. Once they landed, Goku stepped out with Nolan and Mark, revealing who they were. The drones circling the ship caught this, surprising Cecil's team with what they were seeing. What does this mean? Is this some kind of bad joke? No, sir. It's more than confirmed that it's Nolan Grayson, accompanied by Goku and Mark. But there's also an infant on board. Could it be a trap? I don't know. But at first glance, you can see that, despite his purple skin tone, he looks a lot like Nolan. Do you think he's his? Cecil remained silent for several seconds, then turned toward the defense team. If that's the case, we'd better proceed with caution. I don't want to provoke him and have him cause problems like last time. Are you going to receive them, sir? I don't like the idea of that monster being back. But if he's with Mark and with Goku, we can't simply reject him without knowing more. Let them know they have to come to the base, personally. Donald nodded and entered a command into the console, causing one of the drones to descend closer to Goku and the others, projecting a hologram with Cecil's image over the landing field. I must say I didn't expect you to arrive accompanied. Nolan remained silent as he watched Cecil, since he knew him well and therefore kept his distance. Nolan Grayson, you have some nerve coming back after what you did, but don't worry. For now, I won't do anything to you. But let me be very clear from the start. One misstep, and I won't hesitate to act. We have a lot to discuss, so come to the base to talk. Nolan and Mark didn't respond to Cecil's words, but nodded slightly at his proposal, while Goku merely looked at Cecil's projection more calmly. No problem. Here we go. After the brief interaction, they all headed to Cecil's base as agreed. Once they arrived, a heavy metal door opened, and several agents with heavy weaponry escorted them to the command room, where Cecil was waiting. When they arrived, Nolan entered with the baby in his arms, making everything a bit tenser. Long time no see, Nolan. I hope you have a good explanation for why you came back to Earth with a newborn. Let me tell you, I'm not here to repeat the past. I'm here to keep it from repeating at the hands of the Viltrumites. Cecil frowned at Nolan's words, glancing for a moment at the little one who slept peacefully. Then tell me the truth. Is that child yours? Yes, he's half Thraxian. But what matters is that the other Viltrumites found me with him, so we were forced to fight and kill them. Their deaths will alert the Empire, and they'll send more to resume the mission on Earth. Nolan's words carried some credibility, but Cecil didn't trust him, so he turned slightly toward Goku for another opinion, since Mark surely couldn't do it, given it was his father. Since you were with them, I want to know your opinion. Do you agree with this? Bringing Nolan back here, to Earth? Goku closed his eyes for a moment and then spoke with a serenity that contrasted with the tension in the room. I think it would be for the best. When I was away, I saw what the Viltrumites are capable of. They didn't want to conquer. They just wanted to exterminate. They scorned any life they considered inferior, even that of their own allies if they weren't strong enough. I fought cruel beings before, tyrants who destroyed planets just for fun. And believe me, the Viltrumites are in that same category. And even with all that, I saw Nolan confront them and their ideals. He chose to protect people instead of conquering. He put his life on the line for beings who would once have destroyed without hesitation. I'm not saying we should forget everything that's happened before, only that you see the same thing I saw to prevent something worse. Cecil remained motionless at Goku's words, seriously considering what he had said, because the memory of Nolan's victims hung in the air like an invisible weight. Hundreds died by his hand. Why trust him now? Because we don't have another choice. I haven't forgiven him either, but I was there. I saw those other Viltrumites, and if those guys reach Earth and we're not prepared, they'll repeat what happened a year ago, only this time, there won't be time to stop them. And what do you suggest, Mark? You can keep him under control, but use him to fight. Because if you don't, we'll be fighting a war that could cause many deaths. Alright, but this isn't a permanent truce. Nolan will stay under constant surveillance, and his son too if he starts showing signs of aggression. Don't worry, if he rebels, I'll take it upon myself to face him. I promise. The weight of his words was such that even Cecil seemed to consider them a guarantee of security, since he knew Goku was stronger than any other being. I hope you remember what you say. Donald, for now, set up a safe zone for him, and connect me with the people at the Pentagon. This is going to be hard to explain. Donald nodded as he left the room with Cecil. Meanwhile, Nolan began to consider what he should do, so he spoke with Mark. Son, I need to ask you something else, and it's not easy. Oh, what is it now? I want you to take the baby to your mother, Debbie. Mark turned abruptly as if those words had been slap. Are you crazy? After what you did to her? After you left her with a broken heart and disappeared? Do you really expect her to help you? I don't expect her to help me. That's why I'm asking you. She wouldn't listen to me and would probably not even let me cross the door. But you're her son. Maybe she'll listen to you. Mark ran a hand over his face, clearly upset but also trapped by the argument's undeniable logic. He turned toward the baby who was sleeping soundly. And what will you do? Start our training. Not only so you can defend yourself from the Viltrumites, but so you can become stronger than me, stronger than any of them. And for that, I need to focus completely until your brother's ready as well. I'm sure that with your friend Goku's help, we can do it. I've never seen anyone as powerful as him. Goku, who had been watching in silence, raised an eyebrow, since that caught his attention. If that's the case, then before we start Mark's training, how about you train with me first? Are you challenging me? More like, I'm curious. I saw you fight on Thraxa and noticed you're strong, so I want to see how far that strength goes. Are you two going to fight? Not a fight to the death, just a match to measure ourselves and get to know each other better. In my world, fights are also a way to understand the other. Nolan hesitated for a moment because he wasn't a warrior for passion like Goku. He fought out of conviction, out of duty. But something in Goku's challenge interested him. After all, Goku was a guy who radiated peace, yet whose power defied all logic. So maybe it would be good to understand how someone can fight like that without ambition for conquest. Alright, well, that's what you want, I'll do it. But I won't hold back. Great! That's exactly what I want! Mark put his hand to his forehead as if reliving his father's madness once more. But deep down, something about this felt right. Maybe Goku was just what Nolan needed to become more human again. Few hours later, while Nolan was getting ready for the fight against Goku in a wider, uninhabited area, Mark headed to his house. He carried the baby wrapped in a blanket, his face tense since he knew it wouldn't be easy to explain to his mother. The ride was silent, and when he reached the door, he hesitated for an instant before knocking. But he did, making his mother open the door. Mark, what are you doing here? And that baby? Mark swallowed nervously since he didn't know how to tell her the truth. Mom, I need you to listen to me. It's complicated, but please, listen to me. He set about explaining a bit of the situation, including what happened with his father on Thraxa and that the baby was his. This made his mother feel very confused and at the same time sorrowful. Are you telling me that baby is Nolan's son? Yes, he's half Thraxian and half Viltrumite. But he didn't choose to be born that way, Mom. It's not his fault. And you want me to raise him? After what your father did to me? No, I don't want that, but there's no other option. He needs someone to take care of him, and I know you're the right person. The way you raised me made it possible for me to oppose my father when he asked me to join the Empire. You're the only one I know who could give this baby some humanity when his powers awaken. Debbie brought her hand to her mouth, stepping back slightly while she stared at the little one, who slept peacefully. It's complicated. Mom, if you can't do it, I understand, but I had to try. She remained silent for a while, but soon after, Debbie approached, extending her arms, carefully taking the baby. He really does look like him, but it's not his fault. Mark nodded silently, seeing how his mother struggled with a sea of feelings. but she had taken the first step. I'm willing to do this so the past won't repeat itself. This child won't be the legacy of what Nolan did. He'll be better than that. Mark only smiled at his mother's words, ready to support her if she needed it. Meanwhile, in a remote desert area in the southwest of the United States, a tough fight was about to take place. There stood Nolan Grayson, a Viltrumite, and Goku, the Saiyan warrior raised on Earth. Both were in combat stance, watching each other intently. I don't know what you expect from this, but I warn you, I'm stronger than I look. I know. That's why I'm excited to see your capabilities. Without further words, Nolan lunged forward, propelling himself with great force to gain more speed. This first blow was aimed straight at Goku's face, quick and packed with power, but Goku deflected it with his forearm at an equally astonishing speed. Nolan stepped back in surprise, but immediately charged again with a flurry of attacks. Goku began to dodge Nolan's blows without stopping his smile, moving with grace and lightness. At one point, he counterattacked with a direct punch to the abdomen that made Nolan bend slightly forward, gasping. You're not bad, but you're using too much power and too little technique. Is that how Viltrumites fight? We're a warrior race, trained from childhood to dominate and conquer. Usually we don't need complex techniques. I see. Then maybe it's time to show you how a Saiyan fights. Before Nolan could ask, Goku moved so fast that he disappeared completely. A second later, he appeared right behind Nolan and struck him with a kick to the back that lulled him against a nearby mountain. The crash was brutal, causing a partial collapse of the cliff. Nolan flew out from the dust and rocks, visibly irritated by the tremendous attack he had received. But his eyes were fixed on Goku. From the moment I saw you fight the Viltrumites, I realized your strength. So I wonder, what exactly are you? Because it's clear you're not human. You're right, I'm not. I was born on another planet, and my race is called Saiyan. Born warriors like you, though very different in spirit. Nolan frowned, trying to process it while readying himself to attack again. This time he increased his speed and launched himself, breaking the sound barrier several times in seconds. Goku took a direct punch to the face that hurled him back several meters. He landed with his feet planted in the ground, leaving a trail in the earth, but his smile remained intact. Wow, that wasn't bad at all. That punch did pack a lot of power, but you're missing something very important. What am I missing? Control and purpose. It's not just about being strong, it's about flowing in battle. He said this while slowly rising into the air, his expression a bit more focused. You've seen a part of what I can do, but now I want you to see who I really am. After saying that, the air began to churn violently around him, and a golden aura started to emanate from Goku's body, accompanied by a rising roar. The sky seemed to tremble as Goku's black hair lifted, and slowly turned golden, shining like fire. His eyes became green and his expression changed. It was no longer mere serenity, it was pure determination. He's a Super Saiyan! Nolan retreated slightly in the air, much more than surprised by the transformation. It was the same form he had shown on planet Thraxa. The power emanating from Goku was almost crushing, not just physical, but spiritual. He felt it in its bones. How was this possible? Your appearance changed? What kind of monster are you? I'm not a monster. I'm a warrior who fights to protect and defend what is important. Now, I hadn't mentioned it, but I've already lost friends in the past, even my own life. But I've learned to fight thanks to all of them. The answer left Nolan silent, because for the first time he felt he was in front of someone truly different. A warrior who had been born to fight, but who had chosen to protect Earth. Right now, you have a lot to fight for. So, if you focus on that, you'll be able to learn to fight better. Goku slowly rose into the air, his usual calm expression now tinged with excitement. You've seen a part of what I can do, but now I want you to see how I really fight. Shall we continue? Sounds good to me. Nolan nodded respectfully this time and launched himself at the attack again. It was no longer a fight to compare strength.
It was one of learning.
Each blow he threw, each technique he saw from Goku made him question more deeply what he had been up to that moment and what he wanted to be from now on. Before Nolan could react, Goku disappeared and reappeared in front of him in a blink, launching a series of rapid blows that Nolan barely managed to block. Yet they pushed him far back. Nolan counteracted furiously, channeling all his Viltrumite strength and rising to supersonic speeds. The battle climbed even higher into the sky, creating shock waves that split the clouds. Even some satellites registered the anomalous energy of the clash. This disrupted Cecil's base systems, so they decided to see what was going on. "Sir, it seems we've received strong signals in a desert area. Zoom in with the satellites. I want to see exactly what's happening there." After he issued the order, the screen showed the image of Goku in Super Saiyan form fighting Nolan at full speed. Each movement was a powerful burst, each clash a contained explosion of power. And even so, Goku seemed to be controlling every second of the fight. This amazed Cecil, since he had never seen Goku's golden form before and found it shocking. So that's what it was about. This changes everything. This man, Goku, has the strength to crush mountains if he wanted, and yet he's holding back every time he fights. Are you saying he's stronger than Nolan? Much stronger, and probably stronger than anyone we've ever seen. While Cecil watched what was happening, the fight continued on the battlefield. Rocks pulverized with every exchange of blows between Goku and Nolan, who fought without restrictions thanks to the uninhabited location. When they took off, only their silhouettes could be seen because of how fast they moved. It was an astonishing fight. Nolan began to notice that, unlike him, Goku's movements weren't just blows packed with power. Each one seemed calculated to do something specific, like breaking his guard or attacking more vulnerable points. This helped him see the flaws in his fighting style, since his ways of counterattacking were limited by his lack of technique. It was surprising how someone like Goku could be so calm when fighting and enjoy the combat. It was a mindset Nolan found hard to understand, but it intrigued him. Maybe he was facing the most powerful being he had ever seen, but it was someone who used fights to grow stronger and defend what was important, and also to form bonds with people. Taking all that into account, Nolan decided to respond in the same way and charged with all his remaining strength, launching himself at a speed that even burned part of his cape. Seeing this, Goku spun in the air quickly, dodging Nolan's rush and catching his arm in midair. Swiftly, he hurled him toward the ground, making Nolan plummet sharply and leave a crater with his landing. How can you contain so much power and still be so calm? Because I learned that power without control is useless for fighting. Remember when you said the Empire was everything? I also met someone like that, and his name is Vegeta. And you think I can too? You're already doing it. There's no doubt about that. Nolan got to his feet, breathing heavily, sweating and with his suit torn. On the other hand, Goku barely had a mark on his clothes. I admit you're stronger. Much stronger. I've never felt anything like this. But it's not humiliating to admit it, because you're a true warrior. I'm glad to see your progress. At that moment, an invisible drone that had been observing the battle withdrew and returned to the base. Cecil had already seen enough, so he leaned back in his seat and crossed his hands on the desk. I had my doubts when he came here and then left the planet with Mark, but it seems Goku isn't a threat. He's an ace up our sleeve we didn't know we had. Are you going to trust him? Something like that. For the first time in a long time, I see a real possibility that humanity will survive what's coming. Back in the desert, Nolan approached Goku and extended his hand. Thank you for this. I never thought a fight could open my eyes. Here's a first time for everything. Now, how about we start training for real? Go ahead. I'm ready. And so a new beginning started, not only of redemption for Nolan, but of preparation, because Earth's fate hung by a thread. But with Goku on the hero's side, even the past could have a second chance.